1 year ago, I thought I had the perfect life. A beautiful wife, a son who meant everything to me, and a best friend I trusted more than my own brother. Whenever work took me away, I left my family in his hands without a second thought. Then one afternoon, I came home early. My son looked at another man, smiled, and called him Dad. I thought that was the worst thing I would ever hear. I was wrong. Because the man I trusted hadn't just stolen my family, he had spent years stealing my money, my reputation, and even my identity. The morning I left for Denver, I stood in my kitchen and watched my wife laugh at something my best friend had said. For one strange second, I felt like I was looking at a picture of the perfect life. Alicia turned to me. "Why are you staring?" "I'm trying to remember this," I said. She smiled. "Remember breakfast?" "No. You. Jamie. This house. All of it." Jamie rushed in with one shoe on and his backpack hanging open. "Dad, Philip said he'll help me finish my science project." Philip lifted both hands. "Only if your father approves." I laughed. "You've been getting me out of trouble for 20 years. I think I can trust you with a volcano." Philip had been beside me since we were teenagers. We had shared school fights, cheap apartments, bad jobs, and every dream we were too embarrassed to tell anyone else. When I married Alicia, he stood next to me. When Jamie was born, he cried before I did. "Your family," I told him. His smile softened. "Always." My phone buzzed again. Another message from my boss. The Denver project was behind schedule, and I had to stay longer than planned. Alicia saw my face change. How long this time? Maybe 10 days. "Paul, Jamie has his school presentation on Friday." "I know. You said you would be there." "I thought I could." I looked at Jamie. "I'm sorry, buddy." He lowered his eyes. "It's okay." Philip stepped closer. "I can record it for you." Jamie brightened. "And sit in Dad's chair?" My chest tightened, but I forced a smile. "For one night." That was how it had become. When work pulled me away, Philip drove Jamie to school, fixed things around the house, brought groceries, and stayed for dinner. I never questioned it. I felt grateful. At the airport, Alicia hugged me quickly. Jamie held on longer. "Come home soon," he whispered. "I will." Philip took my suitcase from the trunk and placed it beside me. "Don't worry about anything here." I looked at my wife, my son, and the friend I trusted more than anyone alive. "I won't," I said. As I walked toward the terminal, I glanced back once. Philip had one hand on Jamie's shoulder, and Alicia was standing close beside him. They looked safe. They looked like family. And I left believing my entire life was in the best hands possible. At first, the changes were so small that I could explain every one of them away. My calls home used to last an hour. Then they became 20 minutes. After that, 10. "Sorry," Alicia would say. "Jamie has homework." Or, "I'm tired, Paul. Can we talk tomorrow?" Sometimes tomorrow never came. When Jamie answered, I tried to sound cheerful. "Tell me what you did today." "Philip took me to the game," he said one night. "He bought me a team cap." "That sounds fun." "And he knew all the players. He said he'll teach me to throw better." I smiled, even though something inside me pulled tight. "I can teach you when I'm home." Jamie paused. Philip already started. Alicia sounded different too. Her voice had lost its warmth. "How was your day?" I asked. "Busy." "Did you miss me?" "Paul, not now." The silence after those words stayed with me longer than I wanted to admit. While I traveled, Philip handled everything. He arranged Jamie's birthday when my flight was canceled. He sat through school events I watched later on video. When Jamie got sick, Philip drove him to the clinic before I even knew there was a problem. "Thank God Philip was there," Alicia told me. "I'm glad he helped." "You should be. I can't do everything alone." Her words stung, but I swallowed my answer. At a dinner with friends, everyone talked about him. "Philip is practically a second father," one friend said. Another laughed. "Paul, you're lucky. Most men wouldn't do half of what he does." I looked across the table. Philip lowered his eyes like he was embarrassed. "I'm just helping family," he said. Alicia smiled at him. I noticed that smile. I also noticed how Jamie leaned against Philip's chair, how naturally Philip reached down and fixed his collar, and how no one seemed to think it was strange. Still, I told myself I was being unfair. Philip had known me for more than 20 years. He had stood beside me during the worst days of my life. He had never asked for anything. True friends did not betray each other. So I ignored the shorter calls, Alicia's cold voice, Jamie's excitement, and every uneasy feeling in my chest. I kept trusting Philip, never realizing each warning was part of a life slowly closing its door on me. The moment I stepped through my front door 2 days early, I expected surprise. I carried my suitcase in one hand and Jamie's favorite chocolate cake in the other. The house smelled like dinner, and voices drifted from the living room. "Jamie?" I called. "I'm home." Small footsteps raced across the floor. My heart lifted. I set the cake down and opened my arms. Jamie appeared around the corner, his face bright with excitement. But he did not run toward me. He rushed past me. Philip had just entered through the back door, holding a bag of groceries. Jamie threw both arms around his waist. "Dad, you came back." The room went silent. My suitcase slipped from my hand. Philip froze. "Jamie?" I stared at my son. "What did you call him?" Jamie looked confused. "Dad?" "No." My voice cracked. "I'm your dad." His smile disappeared. He looked from me to Philip, then toward Alicia. Alicia hurried into the room. "Paul, please don't make this a scene." "A scene?" I pointed at Philip. "My son just called him Dad. It was an accident." Jamie lowered his head. "I'm sorry. I wanted to pull him into my arms, but my body would not move." Philip stepped back. "Paul, he didn't mean anything by it. Leave. Let me explain. Get out of my house." After Philip left, I faced Alicia in the kitchen. "How long has this been happening?" "You misunderstood." I heard him clearly. "He spends time with Philip. Sometimes children mix up words. Children don't replace their fathers by accident." Her jaw tightened. "Maybe if you were home more often, Jamie wouldn't be confused." The word struck harder than I expected. "So this is my fault?" "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." Alicia crossed her arms. "Nothing is happening between me and Philip. Stop turning one mistake into something ugly." I wanted to believe her. I had believed her for years. That night, Alicia fell asleep, facing away from me. I waited until her breathing became slow, then quietly left the bed. In the dark kitchen, I opened our laptop and searched through emails, bank records, and old messages. At first, I found nothing. Then I noticed a hidden folder, protected by a password. Its name was simple: Paul. The hidden folder opened after 3 failed passwords. What waited inside made my hands shake. I found bank statements I had never seen. Small transfers had left our account every month. Then larger ones followed. $5,000? I whispered. Where did this go? Every payment led to an account connected to Philip. I printed the records before sunrise. Then I searched the cabinet where Alicia kept our house papers. The mortgage file looked normal until I reached the final pages. My name was printed clearly, but the signature beneath it was not mine. I stared at the crooked letters. I never signed this. Another document showed that money had been borrowed against my home. Someone had copied my identity, but the hand had failed to copy me. The next folder held our insurance policies. I read the beneficiary line twice. Philip same. My wife's name had been removed. My son's name was missing. If anything happened to me, Philip would receive everything. By morning, I was sitting across from Detective Marcus Reed. He studied the papers. Who had access to your records? My wife, Philip. Maybe both. Do they know you found this? No. Keep it that way, he said. Forgery, fraud, and possible identity theft take planning. I need time. How much time? Enough to learn how deep this goes. I left his office and called Grace Turner from work. She had helped manage old project files and company emails. Grace, I need a favor. You sound scared. I think someone used my work accounts. She went quiet. Send me everything. That evening, she called back. I recovered deleted emails from your company archive. Whose emails? Yours, except you didn't write them. My chest tightened. What did they say? They approved transfers, changed payment details, and attached copies of your identification. Can you trace where they were sent? I already did, she said. Most went to Philip. I looked around my kitchen. My family photograph still covered the wall. My wedding ring still rested on my finger. My son still slept upstairs. But suddenly none of it felt secure. The money, the house, the insurance, and even my name had been touched without my knowledge. This was not one betrayal, and the trail was leading back to the two people I had trusted most in the world. Someone had been stealing my life, piece by piece, for years. Daniel Ross contacted me from a number I did not recognize. Is this Paul Walker? He asked. Yes? Who is this? Philip's accountant. I can't speak for long. My grip tightened around the phone. Why are you calling me? Because you need to know what he did before the police blame you. We met in an empty parking lot after dark. Daniel handed me a flash drive and kept looking over his shoulder. Philip changed company accounts, he said. He redirected payments, created false invoices, and approved them under your name. I never approved anything. I know, but your login, your signature, and your identification are attached to every transaction. The truth hit me harder than the affair I still feared. Philip had not only taken money, he had made me responsible for financial crimes I knew nothing about. How much? I asked. Enough to send someone to prison. I went home and placed the documents in front of Alicia. Tell me you knew nothing. Her face turned pale. Alicia, I knew he was moving money, she whispered. My breath stopped. You knew? Only part of it. And you said nothing? He told me you would lose your job. He said we would lose the house. He said Jamie would suffer if I spoke. So you protected him. I was scared. You let him use my name. I didn't know it had gone this far. My voice rose. How far did you think betrayal was allowed to go? A small sound came from the hallway. Jamie stood there in his pajamas, tears filling his eyes. Why are you yelling at Mom? I froze. Jamie, go back to bed. Are you going away again? No. Alicia pulled him close, but he kept staring at me like I was the danger. 2 days later, the legal investigation became official. My accounts were frozen, my work access was suspended, and every record carrying my name was questioned. Then the temporary custody order arrived. Until the investigation was complete, Jamie would stay with Alicia. I read the page again and again. This is a mistake, I told my attorney. It is temporary, she said. But when I watched Jamie leave while holding Alicia's hand, temporary felt like another word for stolen. Philip had taken my money, my name, and my freedom. Now the law was helping him take my son from me before I could prove the truth. Sarah Bennett spread the evidence across her desk until my whole life looked like a crime scene. We are not defending one accusation, she said. We are proving a pattern. What if the court only sees my name? Then I will show who put it there. She built my defense from bank records, forged documents, work logs, and Daniel's files. Every page connected Philip to another lie. Detective Reed called 2 days later. Paul, we found more. How much more? Enough to change everything. At the station, he showed me login records, security footage, false invoices, and messages between Philip and people who had helped him move money. He used your travel schedule, Reed said. Every major transaction happened while you were away. So he planned around my absence. He planned around your trust. Grace arrived that evening carrying a worn leather journal. I found this in the old storage boxes from your father, she said. I opened it carefully. Michael Walker's handwriting covered every page. Near the back, he had listed the house, company shares, and family accounts he had legally transferred to me. Sarah read the signed entries twice. This proves those assets were yours before Philip touched them. My throat tightened. My father protected me without knowing I would need it. The evidence began breaking Philip's network apart. Accounts were frozen. Business partners started cooperating. People who once protected him now gave statements to save themselves. Still, none of it brought Jamie home. During my first supervised visit, he sat across from me with his arms folded. "Mom says the police are asking questions about you. They are asking questions because someone used my name. Philip said you made mistakes." I leaned forward. "I made one terrible mistake. I trusted the wrong person." Jamie looked down. "Did you stop wanting us?" "Never." At the next visit, I brought no gifts. I brought photographs, old drawings, and the paper bracelet from the day he was born. "You kept that?" he asked. "Every day of my life." His eyes filled, but he turned away. Weeks passed. Each goodbye hurt, but I showed up for every single supervised visit. I listened when he was angry. I answered every painful question, no matter how broken I felt inside. Then one afternoon, he moved his chair beside mine. "Were you really trying to come home?" "Every time. Even when Philip was here?" "Especially then." Jamie slowly placed his hand in mine. "I thought you left me," he whispered. I held his small fingers carefully. "I never stopped loving you." For the first time in months, Jamie looked at me without fear, and I knew Philip's strongest lie was finally beginning to collapse. The first family court hearing began with Philip sitting only a few feet away from me. He wore a dark suit and kept his face calm, like the months of lies had never happened. I wanted to stand and demand the truth, but Sarah touched my arm. "Let the evidence speak," she whispered. Judge Eleanor Brooks entered, and the room fell silent. Sarah rose first. "Your Honor, this case began as a custody dispute, but the financial investigation has revealed a much larger pattern." One by one, she presented the forged mortgage papers, false insurance changes, hidden transfers, and company records created under my name. Judge Brooks looked toward Philip. "These documents connect directly to you." Philip's attorney stood. "My client denies controlling those accounts." Detective Reed placed login records and security images before the court. "The transactions occurred while Paul Walker was traveling," he said. "The access came from devices connected to Philip Same and his associates." My chest tightened as every crime was spoken aloud. For months, I had carried the shame of seeing my name attached to fraud. Now the court was finally seeing the hands behind it. Daniel Ross was called to testify. He avoided Philip's eyes as he took the oath. "Did Philip instruct you to alter company accounts?" Sarah asked. "Yes." "Did Paul approve those changes?" "No." Philip leaned forward. "Daniel, think carefully." Judge Brooks struck the desk. "You will remain silent." Daniel swallowed. Philip said Paul was always away and would never notice. He used Paul's signatures, passwords, and identification. When I questioned him, he threatened to blame everything on me. Then Alicia stepped forward. Her hands shook as she faced the court. "I knew Philip was moving money," she said. Sarah asked, "Why did you remain silent?" "He controlled everything. He told me Paul would be arrested, we would lose the house, and Jamie would be taken away. Every time I tried to question him, he made me believe staying quiet was the only way to protect my son." I stared at her. "You could have told me." Tears filled her eyes. "I know. I was afraid for years, and my fear helped him hurt you." Judge Brooks studied the evidence before speaking. "This court finds that Paul Walker was the victim of an organized fraud scheme. The temporary restrictions on his parental rights are no longer justified." I stopped breathing. Sarah squeezed my shoulder. Across the room, Alicia lowered her head. I thought of every supervised visit, every painful goodbye, and every night I had wondered whether my son would ever trust me again. "His parental rights are restored immediately." The words almost broke me apart. My knees weakened. Jamie reached for my hand, and I held it tightly. As the hearing ended, Philip rushed toward the doors. Detective Reed blocked his path. "Philip Same, you are under arrest." Handcuffs closed around the wrists that had stolen pieces of my life. For the first time, Philip looked afraid, and as he was led away, I knew justice had remembered every lie. The day the judge granted me full custody of Jamie, I expected to feel victorious. Instead, I felt tired, grateful, and almost afraid to believe the fight was over. Jamie stood beside me outside the courtroom. "Am I coming home with you?" he asked. I knelt in front of him. "Yes, not for a visit, not for one weekend. You are coming home." His eyes filled. "For good?" "For good." He wrapped his arms around my neck, and I held him until the courthouse doors closed behind us. Alicia did not fight the final order. She moved into a small apartment and began rebuilding her life separately. The first time we spoke after court, her voice shook. "I know sorry is not enough," she said. "It isn't. I should have told you the truth." "Yes." She wiped her eyes. "I let fear make my choices. I hurt you, and I hurt Jamie." I looked at her for a long moment. "Accepting that is where you start. I want to become someone he can trust again. Then be honest, even when honesty costs you." Months later, I started a foundation using the records that had nearly destroyed me. I spoke to families about forged documents, hidden accounts, financial awareness, and the danger of blind trust. I showed them ways to check statements, protect passwords, review signatures, and ask questions before silence turned into disaster. At my first meeting, Jamie sat in the front row. I told the room, trust should never mean closing your eyes. Real trust survives questions, truth, and accountability. Afterward, Jamie ran toward me. "That was my dad," he told a group near the door. "He helps people protect their families." The word stopped me. Dad. This time, no confusion followed it. No one had taught him to say it. Pride shone in his face as he took my hand. On the anniversary of my father's death, I brought Jamie to Michael Walker's grave. I placed fresh flowers beside the stone and opened the old journal. "You saved me," I whispered. "You taught me to keep records, protect what mattered, and never trade my character for comfort." Jamie squeezed my fingers. "Grandpa would be proud of you." "I hope so." As the wind moved through the trees, I finally understood what Philip had taken. He had stolen years, peace, money, and moments with my son that I could never recover. But he had not stolen my strength. He had not stolen my integrity. And he had not stolen my future. I looked at Jamie walking beside me and knew my life was no longer defined by betrayal. Every honest step forward belonged to us, and no lie could take that away again. True family is not built by sharing a house, a name, or a perfect photograph. It is built through honesty, responsibility, forgiveness, and love that refuses to disappear when life becomes difficult. Lies can imitate a family for a while. Only truth can make one last. Sometimes the deepest wounds don't come from strangers. They come from the people we trust without question. Trust is priceless, but blind trust can cost everything. No matter how badly life breaks you, the truth has a way of finding the light. The people who betray you may steal your time, your money, or even your peace, but they can never steal your character unless you give it away. In the end, honesty outlives deception, love outlasts lies, and justice arrives, even if it takes years.